my name is Kendall Lang, and I'm going to be your host this evening for the Pure Content webinar, which is being sponsored through the Nobel Biocare Practice Resource Center. So we have a lot of folks joining from the East Coast tonight, and so we want to get right into the topic. We have a lot of information to cover tonight. Our goal is to make this absolutely valuable in terms of being able to implement information that we provide in this training seminar. Now, we're going to be covering strategic digital marketing, and you've probably heard a lot of acronyms out there: SEM, SEO, SMO. I just wanted to put up here real quickly that we're going to be covering a variety of information related to search engine marketing, search engine optimization, and social media optimization. Now, you don't have to take notes if you don't want to, because we will be providing copies of this to you after the webinar. We will also have this webinar up and available on a replay basis to registered participants, so you will be able to review this again at your convenience. So I just wanted to provide that introduction, and we're going to jump right in here. So again, welcome. This is the Nobel Biocare content only webinar. We're going to be covering a variety of things listed in this agenda, first of which is the top 10 tips for effective social media marketing. These are going to be examples of specific things that you'll be able to do to immediately impact your social media presence. Now, the other things that we're going to be covering include the top 9 must-know issues for on-page search engine optimization. These are going to be tactical elements that you're going to be able to actually implement on your website tonight. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and you have access to the right tools, you'll be able to implement these things immediately. If you're not a do-it-yourselfer, you'll be able to give this information to your webmaster or whoever is hosting your website, and they'll be able to implement it for you. We're going to talk about the top 8 points when evaluating vendors. How do you select a vendor? How do you know that they know what they're doing? And how do you evaluate their results? So we're going to talk about those 8 points. We're going to talk about top 7 metrics, are the things that you need to know about your marketing. What are the metrics you need to know? How do you evaluate your performance? And what are the key ways that you should be looking at your website statistics? And then again, we're going to cover top 6 solutions that you can implement right now. So the big question is, can new patient prospects or new visitors find your website? That's really, at the end of the day, what we're talking about. Another way to think about this is someone Googling your service description right now. Now, we're going to be talking about how people search, but the question is somebody looking for the services or product that you offer? And if so, is your website showing up where they're searching? Now, to put this in a little bit of context, I want to talk about why this is so important. Now, the platform, of course, on which all business, industry, and personal information is being housed is the internet, and it is absolutely exploding. I mean, the volume of information out there is phenomenal, and the places where corporate and personal information is being published is also exploding. There has been a tectonic shift in terms of what's happening in social media marketing, and it is actually bigger than what happened in the dot-com boom back in 2000. So the social media impact is absolutely turning the marketing world on its head, and we're going to talk about some of those elements and how you can be positioned to take advantage of those. Now, if you think back to 2006, when YouTube and user-generated content, Google was really getting traction. MySpace was the first social media site to exceed 100 million members. It was a relatively defined marketplace. But very quickly, that has turned into something that is full of literally hundreds of social media marketing sites. You may recognize some of these icons here, these logos. There may be others that you've never even heard of before. There are literally hundreds of social media marketing sites, all of which have an impact on marketing in today's arena. Now, why strategic marketing? Out of all the arrows in the quiver of marketing that you have available, I wanted to list out here a Forrester research report that outlines how people are finding websites. Now, out of all the things that you could make a marketing investment in, these are the things that we have identified that are areas that you need to focus on. Now, obviously, the number one way that people are finding websites today and getting connected with service providers is through search engines. By far, the number one area. You need to have a strategy for getting your search engine marketing in line and doing it correctly. Now, a big impact to that is the social media marketing. Because when this report was done, they didn't even incorporate social media as a standalone category, which it actually is. But we're actually incorporating it into the search engine strategy, and we'll talk about how those two play together. Now, the second largest area is email messaging. That's an area that we are not going to cover in tonight's webinar, but you can look down the list, and out of all of the areas that you can make a marketing investment in, you want to be able to shift and prioritize where you're getting the highest return on investment and the best results for the invested dollars. And these statistics prove out that search engines are the number one way. Now, the importance of search engines is also demonstrated by the fact that only 7% of internet users, when they go to Google or Yahoo or Bing and they type in a keyword, they're very rarely going to go beyond the first 10 or 20 listings of a search engine. And that 87% of search engine users would rather switch to a different search engine than to browse beyond the first 20 positions. And what that really says is that if you're not in the top 30 results and really the top 20 and preferably the top 10, really you shouldn't even worry about being on the internet, because it's basically you're wasting time if you don't have those kind of listings. So what we're going to talk about is it's super important to be in the top 10. How are you going to get there? We're going to give you specific examples of things you have to do in order to get your website ranked. Now, I want to talk just briefly about the social media distribution. There are, as we talked about, hundreds of social media sites, and they're broken down into, dozens of categories. And so I just wanted to kind of show you the whole world of social media, because there are social blogging sites, social networking sites that, of course, everybody's familiar with, Facebook and Twitter. Now, Twitter, you can argue, is not necessarily a social networking site. In fact, if you talk to Twitter themselves, they're trying to be positioned as really a news source. But a lot of people consider them a microblogging site or a micro-sharing site because of the limited nature of the texting that you can do there. But it includes video sharing, and user-generated content is a huge way that search engines are ranking content these days. Photo sharing, a whole lot of sites out there where you can put, complete photo albums with keyword embedded content in those photo albums. So this just gives you kind of a quick glimpse into the types of social media distribution that are out there and the things that you need to be focused on. Now, when we talk about search engine optimization, we talk about this, if you remember back in your undergraduate schooling, you probably studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, the SEO success pyramid that we utilize is much like that in concept. So we start at the very, very bottom with the foundation of, having a commitment. You have to be absolutely engaged and devoted to executing a plan. And the second box down there is really, what is your plan? What are your goals? What are you going to need to reach them? How are you going to determine success? What are the specific products and services that you're offering? Do you absolutely have those defined, and do you understand your keywords in terms of how those products and services are being described? Does your audience have access to current intelligent information in terms of, are you educating them? Do they understand that, your practice is an ever-changing industry? Well, in the same way that you're going through continuing education, you need to stay up to speed on what's going on with search engine optimization. So there's a constant education process that you need to be aware of, because it's constantly changing. The search engine algorithms change on almost a weekly basis. The other part of this that we really consider foundational is patience. You absolutely have to be committed to a long-term process. There is no substitute for doing the right work, right? So if you have a plan, you have to be willing to work that plan. So being patient is something that's extremely important, because this does not happen overnight. This is a long-term strategy. It's highly technical in implementation, but there are things that you must do on a repeated and frequent basis in order for this to be successful. Now, there's a variety of issues around the customer-facing aspect of your website. So the second tier up, when you talk about design and usability, is you got to provide a great user experience on your website. We're not going to cover a lot of that tonight, but there are specific tools that we can point you to at a later time about how to design your website to be the most usable for that customer experience. The other element that we are going to spend a lot of time on tonight is keyword research. We're going to cover that in quite a bit of detail because it is foundational. The other that we have talked about is analytics. So without analytics, how are you going to know what's working and what's not? So we're very big on analytics, setting those baselines, understanding where you're coming from, where you're starting from, and where you're going, and are you on track or off track? And that allows you to say, if I'm off track, why, and what do I have to do to fix that? Now, there are some specific tools that we're going to give you access to, free tools and other tools that you can purchase. Having the right tools is just like a carpenter having the right tools to build a table. There is nothing different in this process. You have to have the right tools, and we're going to give you some suggestions around tools that we have found to be very successful. Now, on the upper level, the third level up, content has been, is now, and always will be king. There is no question that content is absolutely critical, so we're going to talk about some of the components to having SEO compliant, keyword-rich content. Another component is links. We're going to talk about links, which are really the things that tell the search engines how popular you are and what is the anchor text that ties to your keywords that goes into and out of and back to your website. So links are an incredibly important part of an overall digital strategic marketing plan. Now, at the upper levels, when you get to the social and findability and reputation management, these are some areas that really have to do with what are others saying about you out there. Do you have good reviews in all of the social networking sites like Yelp or your Google profile? Are your customers finding you on local sites, and are they finding you on the social networking sites? Those are extremely important. All of this information builds to the trust that users and search engines are going to have with you individually and with your website. So search engines look for certain criteria that they trust that you are what they consider an authoritative source, and your potential new patients are going to consider you in the same way. They're going to evaluate, and really the thing that's going to get you to the point of establishing that trust is by engaging, and you do that by inspiring and educating. So there's a three, axiom paradigm that we talk about, which is educate, inspire, and engage. You do those things, you build the pyramid, you'll get to that trust level. Now, overall, there's a search engine optimization process. And really what we want to do is put in this context so that you have an idea of a process. So if you get to an understanding of all these individual pieces, it will help you to develop a repeatable, scalable process so that you can do the same things every month to ensure that your marketing plan is on track. So the first issue relates to your initial analysis. We're going to give you some specific information about keyword research and the analysis that you do about that keywords. We're going to talk about your competitors. What are they doing? How are they doing? How do you track them? How do you use that information to improve your strategic marketing plan? What are you doing with your sitemap? What's happening with the search engine directory? Then we're going to get into social bookmarking. We're going to talk about issues like blogs and press releases. What do you do with articles and submitting them through the social networking sites? And then we'll talk about link popularity. And then at the end of the day, what are the reports that you're generating for your search engine ranking? And being able to understand, are you on track or off track? Now, when you talk about a digital marketing plan, one of the things that we do is put it in context of this graph, which really starts, everything revolves around your base website. So, www.yourpractice.com is at the top of this org chart. Underneath that are three major categories of activity that you should be focusing specific effort on, which is all about the SEO promotions, then social media promotions, and then infomercial and or video production. So we're going to talk about those three categories. And then underneath SEO, which is really all about your website, there are things that are called on-site factors that we're going to talk about, specific details that we're going to give you about constructing the pages on your website and how you do on-page or on-site optimization. And then there's off-site factors or off-page promotions that we're going to talk about a list of those activities as well, so you know how to do both the on-site and the off-site factors. And then we're going to also, again, I just wanted to highlight here, we're not going to cover this in detail in this webinar, but you should also have a strategy for email campaign management and digital advertising or pay-per-click. If that's an area that you're interested in doing, we can talk about those at another time. But email campaign management is something that's extremely important to integrate with your website marketing plan. So let's jump right in here to the top 10 social tips. Now, as I mentioned before, we are going to be sending you a document that covers this information in some detail. So I'm going to flip out to that right now, actually. So you'll be getting an opportunity to download this document. We'll give you the link for this after the webinar. And we're going to cover the 9 must-know points for on-search optimization, and we're going to be covering the top 10 tips for social media marketing. So I'm going to jump right into these here. The first one is keyword selection. Now, I can't emphasize enough that at the foundation of everything that you're doing with search engine optimization and social media marketing has to do with keyword selection. Now, content is, has been, and always will be king. However, you have to have high quality keywords throughout your content in order for it to accomplish the goal. Now, be clear that what you think your keywords are is actually irrelevant. You need to focus on what your customers are using to search for your products or services. And then the question comes up, how do I know what product name or services my prospective patients are searching for? Well, we're going to give you these resources. Goodkeywords.com is an excellent resource to identify keywords, to do research. You can also, I'm going to give you a link to an article that gives you a lot of detail about the selection of keywords, and there's just too much information to go through in this limited time that we have in this webinar tonight. But it's a great resource to talk about how do you select your keywords, what are the other tools that you have available, and coming up with the right keywords. Now, once you have that keyword list identified, then you're going to want to embed that into content, because content is the single most important component to your base website. So it covers both your SEO strategy and now your social media optimization strategy. So you have to have content that is fresh and unique every week. And if you can't commit to producing that new and updated content at least once a week, you need to find someone who can do that for you. So really the goal is that you need to write a press release or a newsworthy story or a blog article or something that you're able to produce on a weekly basis. Now, once you've identified your keywords, you've written your content, you're going to go post that out to the social networking sites. So the question is, where do you do that? Well, this list is going to give you the top 3 sites to go to in each category. Top 2 sites. So this list you'll be able to identify, quickly link to them, be able to establish accounts, go set up your quality linking there. Now, in terms of posting your content, you have to log into those accounts that you've just created. You have to post the information that you've now written, and then you can modify the accounts to basically take advantage of how they're individually constructed. Now, the goal is you want to be able to quickly and efficiently post your content to those sites and be able to create backlinks from each one of those sites. Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about is you have to be absolutely committed to this outbound marketing strategy. So as you're the owner of your business, you have to focus on pushing content out to your social networks. Writing that content is absolutely critical, and then being able to pull that traffic from your social networks out to your base website. Remember, that's really that call to action, is that we're kind of contrarian in our view. We don't want you to build brand for Facebook. We think they have enough brand. So understanding that you don't need to spend time on Facebook for anything other than attracting your target audience and enticing them and engaging them to come to your website. That's the whole goal. So it's going to feel a little counterintuitive, but you do want to push your content out to the social network websites. And again, the goal is to pull viewers to your website. Now, when we talk about social media marketing, you have to have a Google Places profile. The #1 search engine is Google. Depending upon who you talk to, they're the 800-pound gorilla. They have the lion's share of the market, and you need to understand how to optimize your website and your social media strategy for Google. And one of those really important things from a localized standpoint is your Google Places page. So we give you a link here. You may not even know that you have a profile, but believe me, it's out there. If you've got a physical address, you've got a profile. Some amazing things are going on with Google. If you haven't seen their Street View, it seems like they've physically photographed every single address in the world. And if you type in your address, they're going to have your profile on there. So what you need to do is claim your name, go get your Google Places page, take over that business profile, and construct it following the resources that we give you for this Google Maps listing. Now, another really important thing is getting referrals and testimonials. There are a ton of referral sites out there like Yelp and Foursquare, Groupon, or Living Social, and you really want to get as many patient reviews and testimonials as you can and encourage them to post them out to those different sites. Now, all of those should have links back to your core website. We have some strategies that we're going to give you about how to encourage patients to give you the correct referrals and testimonials and how to get them to put links in there so that you get the maximum impact from that. Now, whether your practice is actually trademarked, whether it's a service name or if it's just a branded product as part of a keyword, or maybe it's just your personal name. Just like if you think back, back in 1840 when it was the Oklahoma, land rush, that was the first land rush for unclaimed territory that, a lot of people, remember those. They can visualize in their head that picture of those people rushing out to claim their land. Well, the same thing happened in the .com boom, where there was this mad rush to go, register all the domain names, and now that exact same thing is happening in the social arena. If you think about what are called vanity URLs or domain names, you can go facebook.com/mypracticename. And there are a lot of names. If you're, Dental Implants Houston, that name has probably been taken. So you're going to want to, if it hasn't been taken, you're going to want to make sure that you get it. So you want to preserve your brand, get your name reserved. We provide some specific resources here that will also give you other links to go check. There are some free tools that we'll send you that will point you to places where you can check your social name and then go claim it as well. That's a really important thing. Now, one of the final points is that this is not about friends. I mean, we really depart from traditional marketing resources who are out there really pushing, spending time or paying them to spend time on your behalf out, doing posts on Facebook and building friends and, doing all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, contrary to popular opinion, those things just don't matter. The reality is it's linking. The single most important thing is having good posts that have keyword-rich content and that you have a link back to your base website. Look, you don't get paid for doing a post time on Facebook. And we've heard, people doing as much as 4 hours a day on Facebook thinking somehow that's going to build their dental practice. And that just doesn't work. The reality is you only get paid when you're sitting in the chair doing patient procedures. Our goal is to minimize your time in marketing, to maximize the impact, and to get you doing patient procedures. Now, so to that end, our recommendation is, look, do not put links on your website outbound. The focus of the outbound messaging is to insert links into your social content with the single goal of pulling traffic back to your website. You have to do everything possible to discourage the posting of links outbound. You want all of that traffic coming to your website. That's the key critical factor. Okay, so here is the list again of the top social tips that we've covered. And again, don't worry, we're going to send you a link to be able to download that document. So you'll have all the live links and you'll be able to get to all these resources. Now, let's talk a little bit about on-page optimization. Now, on-page optimization is very important for a website in order for it to be ranked. These are things that need to be done to the code base. Now, this is different than the cosmetics. And what we're talking about is really the underlying information architecture or the software code that really instructs the search engines how to read your website. So when we're talking about these components, we're going to give you a detailed list, but these are the 9 must-know points for on-page optimization. Now I'm going to go back to this document again to give you a little bit more detail about what you'll be seeing in this document. So the title tag is part of what we call the meta tags. Now I'm going to do a quick demonstration, and I'm going to come out to a client website, and this is something that you can do yourselves. If you go to your website and you mouse over a white space, go someplace in here, and on a PC you can right click, and when you get that pop-up menu, there'll be an option here for view page source. So when you click on that, this will bring up the HTML. So what we're looking at is the underlying code here that includes the meta tags. So everything that starts with a meta is actually a tag. And this is all the code that instructs search engines how to read your site. So I've just highlighted all of these different meta tags. Now you can see there are different types of meta tags. This one is the keyword meta tag. Now the title meta tag is really important. The keyword meta tag is extremely important. The description is extremely important. The rest of these we'll talk about. They do have an impact. But the problem is most of the websites that we've seen where dental practices are being hosted on platforms like ProSites or Empowered Doctor or PBHS, they actually don't allow you to modify or add the majority of these meta tags. So you'll see down here at the bottom, these 3 are what are called the geo tags. And so ICBM basically stands for latitude and longitude. And this is the actual latitude and longitude of the doctor's office, Dr. Brugan's office in Houston, Texas. And the region is in the U.S., in the state of Texas. And the geoplace name is Houston, the city of Houston. Now, if you can't add these geotags into your underlying information architecture, the code of your website, you're going to be limited to how you can rank for local listings in your specific geographic area. So this is part of what I wanted to get at. This is the underlying information architecture compared to what the average consumer sees, which is the look and feel. The cosmetic appearance of the website, it's important for that user experience to look good and they get the information, but the search engines really don't care about the cosmetics, right? They don't care if it looks good or if it makes you feel good or whatever. All they care about are the underlying code elements that you see here. And so that's what we're talking about in terms of all of these meta tags. So the title meta tag, the keyword meta tag, the description meta tag, and the robots meta tag are extremely important pieces that you need to make sure you have, and you have them unique to every page on your website. So let's talk about keywords again just for a second here, because keyword frequency and keyword prominence are part of the 9 must-know points for on-page SEO. So when we talk about keyword frequency, you should have the keyword in your title. You should have your keyword in the keyword meta tag. You should have the keyword in your description meta tag. And you should have the keyword put in the body of your content on each page in a variety of different places. So when you talk about frequency, it's how often is that keyword repeated in your content. And there are some percentages that we're going to send you in this document that talk about what are the appropriate amounts of keywords to put in there. And then in terms of prominence, we're going to give you positioning in terms of whether it should be in the header, whether it should be in the paragraph, whether it should be in the first word of the first sentence of the first paragraph, or the last word of the last sentence in the last paragraph. Those are all the things that we have defined and come up with positioning and percentages that relate to keyword prominence. Now, I've already talked about the geo meta tags, and the revisit meta tag is just another one of those that says to the search engines, how often do you want them to come back? So if you put 7 days, that means that you want that search engine robot to come back in 7 days, and that gives them an indicator that your content is changing on a weekly basis, which is actually a very good thing, because they want to know that you want them back on a weekly basis, which tells them that you have updated content on a frequent basis and that it's relevant, and that helps you become more of a subject matter authority. Now, the last point is a link building plan. We have a very specific set of recommendations around link building that we're going to make available to you that includes on-site link building, which is having appropriate text keyword linking throughout your website so that it provides that keyword-rich linking on-site throughout your website, and then off-site linking factors that are both outbound linking and inbound linking. So we have a complete link building plan that we're going to give you some recommendations and some ideas about how to implement that yourself. Now, in terms of keyword selection, I'm going to highlight just a couple of things because it's really important to understand how important keywords are. So the idea here is if you can identify 20 specific target keywords, they should include some root keywords. Now, the document that we're going to send you, the article that we've published, talks about root keywords. It talks about stem keywords. It gives definitions for keyword phrases, and then it gives you information about what are short tail and long tail keywords. So all of those have different impacts, and all of those are going to have different results, but you need to understand how all of those are interspersed throughout your content so that you have a very good strategy overall, and you basically are planning the work, and then you can work that plan. Now, so we've talked about the off-page optimization as an element that is not actually the things that you do with the construction of individual pages. These are the things that you do off-site in terms of directory linking and some other activities. So we're going to talk about all of the off-page activities that you should incorporate into your SEO strategy. And every month, these are things that you need to do, and they include things like directory submission, article submission. We've talked about social bookmarking, social media interaction. There's also classified sites out there that include, Craigslist and Angie's List and other local classified sites. Being able to submit to all the search engines. I mean, not just the top 3. There are literally thousands of search engines that you need to have a strategy for how do you submit to them. We're going to give you some direction around that. So the final element that we're going to talk about on this page is press release submission. Press releases are an incredibly powerful part of an off-page activity that can drive a lot of linking because press releases are picked up by an extraordinary amount of the social networking sites. So press releases are going to be a very important part of your overall submission strategy, and we'll give you some specific ideas about that. Now, the next one is forum posts. There's a variety of forum posts out there, just like blog commenting sites, creating links from other blogs to your website. We do a lot of free blog maintenance, and we'll give you a list again at World Class ID. We talk about a ton of the free blogs that are out there where you can post information. Three-way link exchange. This is part of what we talk about in the link building strategy. Being able to connect with RSS feeds out there, being able to be an expert and answer questions on Yahoo Answers. It's a tremendous way to get your credibility out there in the marketplace. And then focusing on local business listings. We give you some ideas around what are some of those local business listings. And I'm going to jump out real quick and just show you a website. Again, I'm going to go back to Dr. Brugan's website of No Dentures, I'm just going to talk about some of those links. So as you scroll down here, basically, again, part of the strategy is we want you linking internally, not externally. So if you look down at the bottom corner of the website as I mouse over this, you'll see nodentures.com/social media profile. So these icons do not actually link off the website, they link internal to the website. So when you click on this, it brings you to the social media profiles that we have created. So this is an extremely powerful way to let your clients know that you're up to date, and these are secondary pages internal to the website, that if they do click on these, they will see your profile. So it does create the linking strategy, but it's in secondary pages that are not as likely to be viewed by prospective patients. Now, in terms of reviews, if you look here, in terms of the links, this is one of the areas that we definitely recommend. Both Yahoo, Google Profile, all of these have review sites that you can incorporate patient reviews. Now, another client site that I'm going to go to real quickly is Mallow Dental Implants. Now, one of the things that we want to focus on here is getting and encouraging clients to tell their story. So one of the things that we'll do is give access to be able to post their testimonials right on the website, so they can come in here and click on this Tell Your Story. Or you can direct them correctly out to places like your insider pages, your Yelp profile, or your Google Places page. So if they click on this, it takes them out directly to your profile, and then they can actually post the reviews out at the local profile pages. So that's an extremely effective strategy for local business listings and getting submission and testimonials. Then dealing with blog promotion and social media promotion and video promotion, very, very important. We're going to talk about some of those things in a little more detail. Now, one of the things that we're going to expect out of this is results. Everything that we're talking about is really, are you getting the results that you're after? If you put these strategies in place, the thing that you're going to find is that within 6 months, the keyword ranking that you're after is going to be improving. So as you see your results improving, as you see your keywords starting to notch up into the first 30, the first 20, and then the first 10, and as you see your keywords and your website ranking in those specific keywords, you're going to get more website traffic. If your website is correctly designed and if you have the right user experience, you're going to see more contact forms being filled out, and you're going to see more patient calls coming in. And that's the whole idea, is we want you to be in the top in terms of the players in the industry in your local marketplace. And if you follow these strategies that we've been laying out, you can expect to get those kind of results. And again, when you reach the first page of Google, you will have more targeted visitors from search engine. Now, every passing day, visitors and customers, they will increase, and they will give you a boost to your brand value, and your conversion rate should go up. Now, if you're getting more traffic and you're not getting the number of contacts or the number of phone calls that is correspondingly increasing, then you have the ability to evaluate what's going on with the cosmetic design of your website. Or is it educating the prospective patients? Is it inspiring them that you're the subject matter expert? And if those things aren't being done, then they're not going to engage. So that gives you another way to say, look, it's not a traffic problem, it's not a lead problem, now you've got a conversion problem on your website. But it helps you get down to more detailed information, which is really, really good. So one of the things that we really want you to focus on is this concept of return on investment. Now, how we want to encourage you to think about your SEO is think of it like a marketing savings account or a retirement account. It's going to generate compound interest if you invest in it correctly. It will have long-term lasting benefits. It'll have a cascading effect, but you have to do it consistently. Just like with your retirement strategy, you're doing something every month to build that retirement strategy. The same thing happens with your SEO retirement strategy. What are you going to do on a recurring basis to continually improve your content creation, your link building strategy, your overall brand, your social media marketing participation. All of that strategy is going to affect results. Well, at the end of the day, all of this activity is about driving top line practice revenue. So the question is, do you have the metrics in place that allow you to track a website search engine ranking, somebody clicking on a search engine result, coming through to your website, clicking on a contact form, getting a lead, coming to your front office, taking that front office, going through a patient evaluation, patient treatment plan, and getting them signed up as a paying patient to that top line revenue? Do you have all of that tracking? And that's really one of the things that you should be able to determine is what's the average per patient, per value of customer, so that you can predict your ROI. So whether it's television or radio or search engine optimization or social media marketing, you should be able to quantify that so you're getting a very clear idea about your return on investment. Now, we've seen that television has about a 2 times return on investment, radio has about a 4 times return on investment, and search engine optimization has between 8 and 10 times return on investment. So almost twice what the next closest return on investment is. So you could be spending, $30,000 for a month of television advertising and generate $60,000 worth of patient revenue. But if you took the same dollars of $30,000 for search engine optimization, you could be generating $300,000 worth of new patient revenue. So those are the kind of metrics we want you to be able to understand, to be able to identify where are you going to where are you going to place your marketing investment to get the highest return on that investment. So you should always be able to determine the order and priority of how you're allocating your SEO spend, which is really a marketing investment, and where is it returning the most to you in terms of all the different possible venues. So in terms of just clarifying, because we're running out of time here, we will be sending you additional documentation to cover the additional 3 points of how to evaluate vendors. The selection process, it's really interesting because for most of you, you've gone through 4 years of undergraduate school, you've gone through 4 years of medical dental school, you've gone through, specialization training, you go through continuing education every year, you're licensed by the state, you're involved in, peer review, and unfortunately, that's just not the case in the marketing world. There really is no certification. There's no licensing. It's basically anybody that, can say 3 more acronyms than you can. They're an expert. And so it's really difficult to find out, how do you really trust a vendor? Well, there are specific things that we're going to recommend that you implement that will help you become a better selector of vendors, and not just, search engine optimization vendors, but really any vendors that you're working with. So it's a really valuable tool that will help you become a better picker of professional resources, so that you're not just blowing with the wind. And then the metrics. Again, we've really pushed encouraging you to establish process and methodology around metrics so that you understand where are you ranking for which keywords, how much traffic is that generating to your website, where are people going when they come to your website, are they filling out the forms, and are you getting the contact information and the telephone calls that are justifying continuing the investment to see how all that's playing out. So metrics are a really important part of deciding, is this the right investment to make. And then again, we're going to cover some additional solutions that you can implement right away. So if you follow these SEO and social media practices, we can assure you that you will see rapid growth in your website ranking, in your traffic, and in your new patient prospects. And at the end of the day, that's what we're really here to encourage. So I want to encourage you to get started now. We want to wish you best for your online success. We will be following this up with, we have a few minutes to take questions and answers. And before we do that, I wanted to just summarize here with a special offer for attendees. Now, we are prepared to offer to each one of you who've spent this time with us tonight a free website keyword assessment. This is an extensive research document that is extremely valuable. That will be sent to you in conjunction with an SEO compliance audit. Now, just those two things typically are about a $450 investment, but we're offering those complimentary through our relationship with Nobel Biocare. The only thing you need to do in order to take advantage of this special offer is to send an email to ceo@worldclass.com and request the free website keyword and SEO compliance audit. Now, I'm also offering a 1-hour personal marketing coaching session. So if you request that, I will personally spend an hour with each one of you on the phone over the course of the next week or two. We'll have to get it scheduled based on your availability and how many people take me up on this offer. But I will spend an hour going through looking at your digital marketing plan, looking at your website, giving you recommendations. This is a session that I think you'll find very valuable, and I look forward to taking you up on spending that time with you. So again, we're going to break here for any questions. And again, thank you for participating in the Nobel Biocare Pure Content webinar. I'm Kendall Lang, and I look forward to answering any of your questions.